freezing, the first day of the season. Yeah, when it comes to retrieving, old Duke's on his game. A John boat, a couple of mojos. Shoot, they gon' know that we don't play. Swampy feeling, some duck blind healing. High ball calling them old green heads back home. Keep your heads bowed, it's gonna get real loud when that 12 gauge choir sings out a holy song. Well, somebody say amen. Let's give 'em black water baptism.
Welcome to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Realtree Outdoors, Browning Firearms, and Browning Ammo. Here's your hosts, Caleb Wallace, Cole Barthel, and Kyle Bearfield.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. We got a little special episode for y'all this week. We're going to talk about something that there's two kind of people, I guess. You either got hogs or you're going to have hogs. And the fellow sitting to my right here, Corey Gilbert with Hog Boss Gates, he got a solution to the problem. Corey, we appreciate you being here.
Man, I appreciate y'all having me. I've just about alienated everybody else in my circle of talking about hogs. Y'all are the only people I've met this week that wanted to talk about hogs. So, thanks for having me on.
We're glad you're here.
We're glad to hear.
We love hogs. Love to shoot them, love to trap them, love to eat them. Love hogs.
Well, you're my kind of guy.
That man down there at the end, he might love hunting hogs more than deer or anything.
If we run into hogs while we turkey hunting, especially in Texas or anywhere, I'll put a buckshot in a hurry and go after a hog over a turkey.
Immediately.
That's a bonus species.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. But they're a problem too.
Absolutely they are.
Kyle and Cole got an episode on the TV show, I guess a couple seasons back. Where y'all went in Texas when y'all did the 1, 2, 3 on the hogs and what with ARs and shot them at the feeder. I had them on camera, creeped up over this little knoll with 1, 2, 3 and hammered them.
We had about 10 of them. We actually, one of my buddies from Virginia, he brought a bunch of SWAT team guys. He's in law enforcement, and they wanted something live to shoot at, you know.
Right.
And the funny part about it is they all brought their long, short barrel SBRs and the different rifles and all. They're all, you see them step out of the truck, you're like, these boys are about to throw down on some hogs. And got them lined up, snuck over the hill, like he said, 1, 2, 3, kill them. And I think there was 6 guys shooting, and we were just watching. I think they might have killed 1.5. When it was all said
They got a little excited.
No,
they
got
got excited.
Bullets flying 20 yards from where the pigs were.
So there's
How far away were they?
100 yards.
100 yards.
Yeah.
so
Not
there's
quite a skillet shot.
No, not
Yeah,
quite
no,
a skill
but it
shot,
was-
but they were shooting amongst them.
Yeah.
But they enjoyed it, and that's all that matters,
So there's multiple different ways that people have tried to get rid of hogs, and like I said, around here in North Louisiana especially, we got them. It's just terrible everywhere, and they're a nuisance to the farmers, they're a nuisance to the hunters. They are fun to hunt and trap and shoot, like Kyle said, but everybody's been looking for a way to get rid of these hogs, and from the thermals, and you got people hunting with dogs and all that. And I've got a thermal. I enjoy doing that at night. Problem is, heck, I sleep at night. Well, what Corey, the Hog Boss Traps, has developed is, you put a cellular camera on your trap there and watch them. And I mean, heck, I was like a couple weeks ago. I'm laying in bed at 10:30 at night. And my phone dings. I look, and there's 17 hogs in the trap, and call the gate and drop it, and they're there. And get up the next morning and go get them out of there.
See, well, that's why I'm glad he's here, because I've seen it on different ranches out in Texas and seen it in places, but I want to know about it. I don't know a whole lot about it. So,
About to say the
yeah,
trap.
you can just fill us in on a little bit of all of it.
I tell you, it speaks volumes, just listening to y'all talk about your experiences with them, about the how we're just absolutely overrun with the hog species right now, when you can get so creative in how you want to kill them. You're talking about sneaking up over the hill and lining up 3 guys from out of town to give them a shot at them. I watched a video today that a friend of mine sent me, and y'all probably seen videos like this where they were using tannerite. And, you know, the studies have shown, and it's just an incredible study to show that their reproduction rate is so fast that you have to remove 75% of the herd just to remain where your numbers are from the previous year. So if you have 100 hogs on your property, you have to take 75 of those hogs out just to
keep them
stay
increasing.
right where you were at the year before.
Right.
Wow.
It's just it's mind blowing.
We've seen it on my place and right here in Arcadia, not too far down the road. I think we trap in our spare time. We don't make a job of it, but we trap over 100 a year, and they never go
Don't
down.
want to dent in them.
Don't
Absolutely.
So what we've designed is a trap that in everything that we've done in Hog Boss, we've tried to base it on previous studies. I haven't tried to reinvent the wheel here. I've relied real heavy on university studies, and there's a lot of them out there. And what they've shown is in order to get to that 75% number, you got to be removing whole sounders. And we're talking about greater than 90% of the herd removed at one time. And the most effective way that we found to do it is with the sailor hog traps. There's several different designs on the market. People have tried. Let me go back a little bit and tell you how I kind of stumbled upon what we do. I got in a club down in St. Francisville, Louisiana, and I've always done a little bit of trapping, predator trapping on the side, bobcats, coyotes, coon, beaver trapping. Got in this club down there, never dealt with feral hogs before. We had a hog problem, and everybody looked at me and said, well, you're the trapper, figure it out. So I started doing my research, figuring out, the little 4x6 box pins that everybody's seen. It's got the trip set in the back of it. You put a root stick in the back of it, put your cord around it. You get 3 or 4 hogs in there on a good night. Normally you catch one. I've had people send me pictures. Hey, I've caught 15 in one of those 4x6 box traps. Send me a picture. I want to see that. Stacked in like cordwood. That is not
very big hogs.
No, I could never replicate that.
Sure.
Man, we tried snaring them. I tried the figure 9 traps with a little. You take your wire panels and hinge them up and leave a little gap in it.
Yep.
Put a root stick in the back of it. We tried everything, and nothing seemed to be very effective. I was into catching. If there were 20 pigs on my camera, I wanted to catch all 20 of them. Mm-hmm. So we started doing some research, and I started, working on this product that we call Hog Boss now. Actually developed in my kitchen. You can ask my wife about it. The first success was probably Edison with the light bulb. When it worked, I was like, hallelujah, it worked.
Cold beer involved in that project?
May have been 1 or 2 and a couple of bottles of whiskey. It took me several months working on this thing. So I got the thing to work at the kitchen one time and burnt the unit up. Couldn't get it to fire again. So I went back to the drawing board, and lo and behold, we came out with what we have, Hog Boss Gates now. It's been in production for a little over, right at 4 years, I guess 4 years.
Sounds right. That sounds right.
And our development with the product is just, it's just so much better than it was when any product's that way. Just, keep our nose to the grindstone. We're always trying to figure out a better way to do it, and we're constantly redeveloping the product.
It is a great product, and I'm real good friends with Hannah and Jeff Barron, and they use it. And I worked with them last year with another company, and we went on some hunts, and I was filming Hannah a lot. And I remember one of our hunts that we were on. I don't remember if we last year we went to New Zealand, we went to Utah, we went to some way off places. But on one of the hunts, Hannah was looking at her phone when we were eating dinner, and they had their, a friend or somebody back at home that was going to catch all the hogs, and they were halfway across the world, and hogs were in there, and she triggered it, and they caught them and, took care of them. So it just makes it extremely convenient for you to manage your hog population and not have to just be there. As long as you got the camera that allows you to see, you don't want to set it up and not be able to see it and worry about keeping hogs in there too long or nothing like that. But with the cellular part of it, it makes it special. But when you said St. Francis, it triggered something in my mind, my memory. One of my very first hunting memories was, I believe I was 4 years old, if I remember this right. We had a hunt club down there too, and I was walking with my dad, and we were leaving after an afternoon hunt right at dark, and I had a Red Ryder BB gun, and I was probably lagging along about 5 or 6 feet behind my dad, and a hog right here on the side of the road just, snorted at us, and it scared me so bad. I remember just running and jumping. Michael Jordan would have been impressed, and just throwing the gun, running and grabbing around my dad's neck, jumping on his back, and so from then on, I've had to hear that story every time Dad gets around a crew and basically wants to embarrass me.
Child scared of the hog.
Here, yep, scared of that hog. But that's been hogs have been around for a long time. Thinking back, that was 32 years ago, probably. But on my farm specifically in Arcadia, I remember we didn't get hogs until the year 2000. In 2000 was when we first saw hogs on trail camera, and we started back then trying to figure out how to kill them, how to trap them, and we designed traps that were kind of just like you said. We even built one that had a big gate, and it's made out of steel, and you have to move it around with the tractor and this and that. And what we've found is, like, those traps like that, the little small compact traps, we can't catch the whole sounder. If a big one sees another one get caught, maybe we never catch him again. He gets real smart. Tell me a little bit, because you probably know a lot more about trapping than we do, about how to trap hogs, or some different methods that maybe can help somebody catch hogs using the hog balls.
Well, what we found early on, even before hog balls was developed, that there were studies available. One of the ones that I relied heavily on, was a study out of the University of South Carolina. It was done by a grad student there that did optimum gate size, talking about the trap gate size, and the optimum size of the corral that is built with the gate there. And what she had noticed over time, being a biologist, she trapped a lot of hogs, is that you drop the gate on 4 or 5 hogs, and the rest of them wouldn't come in there. They get trap shot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what everybody sees, is this trap shot. They just won't go in the gate. So she said, well, I'm going to do a study. That's my grad study. I'm going to do that, get my doctorate. So she, what she came up with was an optimum gate height and width. The gate width being 8 foot high, 8 foot wide, and the height being, I think hers was 39 or 40 inches tall. And the minimum corral size that she recommended, or that she found that the hogs didn't seem to be alarmed by, was a 30-foot diameter, 90-foot circumference. So all of those dimensions have been incorporated into what we do at Hog Boss. And all of that goes back to, you're still going to have trap shy hogs. Trap shy hogs, they will not tend to go into a very small gate opening. If the trap gate's 2 foot wide, and you got a sow that's seen other pigs trapped in it, you can almost give it up. She's just not going. I don't care if you put peanut butter and crackers and watermelon and whatever you want to put in there, she ain't going back in it. The wider you go, the better it is to get them, but based on this study that we read, 8 foot wide is the gold standard. So that's what we went with. But even still, you're dealing with other hunting clubs or other landowners around you that are using smaller traps. They're educating these hogs. Mm-hmm. So even the folks running the Hog Boss traps are dealing with trap shy hogs. So that kind of gets into what we call trap conditioning, where you're conditioning the hogs to not fear the trap that you're using.
When you say conditioning, like letting them go in and eat and stuff with it open.
Patience is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Patience.
Patience.
Sure.
It's and there's several different ways to do it. I've got some guys that'll just set a couple of panels. They start their feed site first, and let the hogs come in there and get used to it. They're watching them on the camera, and then they'll put up a couple of panels. And then each day or a couple of days they'll add a couple of panels, and then the last day they'll go in and add the trap gate. Okay. And it doesn't matter how many days they've come into that trap. When you put that gate in there, they're probably not going to come in that next night. They are absolutely the smartest mammal on 4 legs that we're chasing in the woods.
I'll agree with that.
And what we've done that's worked well for us is I'm up to I think 6 pens now, on a 1,500 acre farm, and we're just keeping all 6 pins baited all the time and keeping a camera on it. And when hogs start using one pretty regular, we'll move the gate. You know, if the gate's not already there, we'll move the gate there, leave the door open, and like Corey said, it takes, you know, they come that same time that next night, and you'll see them standing outside that gate looking, like trying to figure out what is that, and then it's usually 4 or 5 nights before we put that gate there before they actually go in that pen again.
And even then, they may not all go in. You'll still have that one old sow that'll get hung up out.
And that's the problem I got is me and my little brother both watch our gates, and you know he can fire it, so can I. And he was born without any patience at all. So as he sees 4 or 5 pigs go in there, he fires
Catch
down
him.
on them, and he's calling me. He's all excited. I'm like, oh, there's 20 hogs, and just watch you drop the gate on those 4 or 5.
What'd you catch the other day? Didn't you tell me? What'd you have in there?
The most we've done in a night, you know, there's several of our hog box customers have done more than this. Most we've done in a night's 23.
Whew.
That's a pretty good hog.
That's really good.
For sure. It is. But it's, you know, like Kyle said, he's trapped hundreds before, and we're maintaining. We're
Yeah.
trying to keep them from increasing, but I don't know that we're decreasing, but it's got to help.
I tell my customers not to get hung up on the 100% number.
Right.
I mean, we do that just because we have time. I've got a bunch of these traps out, and we've just got time to be patient on them. But anything over 90%, drop the gate. Because you're always going to have that one old sow that just, she may never come in there.
Mhm.
And there's other ways to take her. It's like I told y'all before we started this podcast, we look at the hog boss gate as one tool in the arsenal to take care of the feral hog
Right.
population. There's, you know, I got a couple old guys, and this is a very overlooked and really old school way of doing it. But snares are probably one of the most effective ways of taking out those trap shy sows that won't come in the trap. You know what their travel corridor is.
Yeah.
You've got the trails developed coming in there. So once you trap her, sound her out, odds are she's going to come back in there for the next 2 or 3 nights looking to see if they're still around. Go ahead and set your snares, and you have a pretty good chance of picking her off.
That is a good idea.
Hey y'all, as we take a break from the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting podcast for a second, I want to go over one thing with you. Due to the crazy times that we're living in America, there's somewhat of a gun and ammo shortage across the country. Well, Simmons Sporting Goods has gone out of their way to make sure that you have the guns and ammunition in stock to protect your family. Shop now at SimmonsSportingGoods.com to pick up that ammunition that may be out from retailers across the country.
Low tech
Yeah.
solution for
Heck yeah.
a big time problem.
Yep. Sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Is this a family run company? Just you? Do you do it by yourself? What else?
It's a family run company by dictatorship. I've got a lot of evenings that my wife and kids don't want to have anything to do with it, but
Right.
we got big orders coming in. It's all hands on deck. But I do have a partner in the company, Scott Hall. He couldn't be here tonight. He's actually at the shop filling orders right now. But it's a very labor intensive endeavor. I mean, we do all of our welding in house. 100% of the fabrication is done in house.
That's awesome.
Right here in Bastrop,
That's
Louisiana.
awesome.
Yeah.
What about this question? Where's the bulk of, what state would you say has the biggest issue from your sales, and what state, and tell me how many states you sold to, or what is your highest couple states, or give me a little bit of
Well, I tell you,
geography
number
lesson
one
on
is
it.
Texas, and we ship product to Texas every week.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Florida, and Florida is at least every week,
Yeah.
if not every other week.
We've sent a ton of gates and conversion units to the Department of Wildlife or is it Agriculture in
Well,
Florida?
a lot of it is, most of it is USDA based. USDA has
That's what it
multiple
was.
divisions.
That's awesome. You're involved with them. Yeah.
NRCS, ASICS divisions, the animal control side
But
of it.
we've probably shipped a dozen units, out of here to Gainesville, Florida.
It's a funny thing. I lived outside of Orlando, Florida, for off and on for 3 years. I was playing ball, and I'm telling you, right outside of Kissimmee, Florida, outside of Orlando, you would see hogs on the side of interstate, and you would see them in these neighborhoods coming in these people's yards.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess people know that there's a lot of hogs in Florida, but I didn't at that
didn't,
time. That was
know.
10 years. Shoot, that was longer than 10 years ago. That's
Until we
2003,
started.
2004, 2005
Yeah.
and there was hogs everywhere.
We have
I would have guessed Texas, but after that, I was going to be blamed.
Texas is huge. And I'll tell you the difference that you see, and I'm not trying to slight Florida, their numbers are off the charts. But with Texas, the thing that you see out there are sounder sizes 30 and greater. I mean, it's not unusual for somebody to call me and say, I've got a sounder of 100 pigs. And the first few times I heard it, I'm like, this guy's,
whatever.
he's exaggerating, But it's absolutely a fact. They get sounder sizes out there, and I've heard of them. I've actually read reports of sounder sizes going upwards of 300 hogs. Can you imagine a sounder
Explain sounder
of
size.
300 hogs? Well, sounder is sounder is kind of a way to dumb down the family group of a hog.
Okay.
Hogs actually have 11 to 15 known family groups that they travel in.
That's good info. Yeah.
It's just kind of a generic term that we use for a flock or a herd.
Right, okay.
A gaggle of geese, it's a sounder hog.
Okay.
But it doesn't really define the social characteristics of hogs, because they are, I'm telling you, they're the most complicated mammal outside of humans that there is, that I know of. It's fascinating.
Well, you hear people say dumb hogs, and I also hear people, and some people will disagree with me, and we'll talk about this later on, as dumb snow geese. But people get so mad at both of them at times, whether you're a duck hunter or a deer hunter or a hog hunter, when the hogs come out messing up your deer hunting, turkey hunting, whatever it is, and geese. But these suckers, the geese land out in the middle of the field where you can't get to them. A lot of snow geese do. You're lucky if they get around a ditch where you could creep up to them, or they fly just high enough where you can't shoot them. Well, hogs similar to that. They can smell. I mean, when we go hog hunting, man, we take a shower. If you got an ozonics, you send up and you get downwind. I mean, you get downwind big time, and it's really it's tougher than you think in places that we've hunted to go out and kill one with a bow, sitting in a ground blind, doing this, doing that when it's hot.
No doubt.
So, and then when you're doing that, you're doing it for fun because you ain't hurting the herd one bit.
We do scent control. We lay our sets with our trap gates. We'll go in and spray everything down, try to minimize the scent, wear rubber gloves, rubber boots. Now, these are sets that we're trying to have a quick turnaround on. If I'm putting a set out and I know I've got, an indefinite period of time to run it, then I don't worry about that. But if I'm trying to have a 2-week turnaround, 1 to 2 week turnaround, scent control is extremely important with hogs.
For sure.
Right.
And, talking about bow hunting them in a ground blind, it was a couple years back. I had them just coming in bow stand. I was like, well, and I still haven't killed a hog with a bow. I thought, this will be cool. I'll go take my bow and shoot a hog. Well, it's difficult enough to get drawn on a deer at 25 steps. Getting drawn on a pig when you got 15 to 20 of them in a corn pile, I couldn't do it. And so the next evening I came back with my shotgun and buckshot.
That's what you did.
Yeah, knocked out 4 or 5.
That or AR, all at the same time. But no, we used to spend a lot of, me and Kyle before, back in the day when we were single, we used to spend a lot of time in Texas. And we had several different little pieces and leases, and we wanted hogs back then.
Oh, yeah.
Because, man, we didn't have nothing to do. In the summertime especially, we'd live out there basically, and we ran feeders, we ran corn, we did everything, and we bow hunted them, and we spent many a day sweating our tails off in a ground blind trying to kill them. And we did, but we didn't do anything to the population, and now we can't stand them.
Well, he said earlier about 25, 30 years ago, he remembers hunting hogs. And 25, 30 years ago, if you saw a hog, that was kind of about a black bear, 8 or 10 years ago here.
And not even that long ago for us. We killed, the first hog, I was still in college, was 2009. We killed our first hog on our farm. And, I was like y'all, I was like, man, this is cool. There's something else to shoot, something else to hunt. This will be fun, And I think that deer season, we killed like 36 or something like that, because it was like the first couple times we went deer hunting, killed a hog. I mean, this is awesome. You shoot every time you go deer hunting, you shoot. Well, then it got to where, gosh dang, I kind of want to see a deer.
I'm not seeing any more deer. Yeah.
Now, that was 11 years ago, and now we despise the dang things and are doing all we can to remove as many as we can.
y'all are all a lot younger than I am, but there was a movie that came out in the '80s called Gremlins. Y'all
I
remember
know,
that?
I know what he's talking
Yeah.
about.
Get 'em
Yeah.
wet,
That's,
they just
what,
multiply.
that's the term I use to describe them. A lot of people look at me like I got two heads because they don't know what a gremlin is. But
We know.
go watch the movie Gremlins and
That's-
you'll understand the feral hog population.
You know, we're such outdoorsmen and sportsmen, and we like hunting so much. We kind of give them a little more fun credit than what they are. But I mean, honestly, if you have hogs and you're trying to manage big whitetails or your whitetail herd, they are a major problem because they are competing for your mass crops. You know, that same low level of vegetation, they eat everything, and you will see a difference in your deer. If you have, especially if you run feed, you know, they'll run the deer off of feeders. They'll just take it over. If you know, we went through back in when we first got hogs on our farm, a learning curve, basically of what they can destroy and what they can't. And I bet we lost so many tripod feeders, and you can't have a trough feeder because
Yeah.
they'll eat you out of house and home in one night. But they knocked over all our tripod feeders, tear the motor off of them. We had to hang all our feeders now. Got to be, you know, hung 10 feet in the air, and or you know you have to buy just a
Even
monstrosity of a
on,
feeder.
I mean, the guys that we hunt with in Texas, even gravity feeders, they have to fence it off. They find ways with gravity feeders to hit the legs, and they find a way. It's like a coon. They
tell
find
you.
a way to get to the food.
The exclusion fencing that you're talking about, you know, everybody's talking about we got to get rid of the hogs. We got to get rid of the hogs. Can't feed the deer anymore. Our product is going to help you reduce your hog numbers. It's never going to eliminate the hog problem. But if you want to feed on your club, there's no better thing that you can do than to put up exclusion fencing. And what we use are the hog panels.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a lot of guys say, well, I tried it on my club, it don't work. The deer won't go in it anymore. Well, deer are just like any other animal, just like your dog. You can condition a deer to do anything that you want it to do over time. So the first year you're going to put your exclusion fencing up, they're probably not going to come in there. You may have one deer that'll come in there. But I guarantee you, within 2 generations of deer on your property, the exclusion fence, there won't be a single deer on that property that won't go in it. They see other deer eat out of it, and they know that it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably one of the most effective ways that we've seen to be able to continue to feed your deer herd, and while you're managing your hog problem.
That is true, but it does, like I said, it does take time.
It does take time, and
We-
most people just don't have patience.
It-
No,
it's true.
you're
We
exactly
try
right.
to build them bigger than probably they need to be, thinking the deer need a little more room, don't want to feel enclosed, and
We took those
Takes
hog
time.
panels and cut the top layer of wire off of it, shortened it down about 6 inches. And it seemed to
A
shorten
3-foot
up the
panel
condition.
or
Yeah,
like 3 foot?
well, it's
Or is it
not
the
quite.
5 foot?
It's, what is it, 32 inches?
I thought it was
34
40
inches.
inches.
No, they make an actual hog panel.
Oh,
that's,
you're talking, I was thinking about the livestock
it's shorter,
panels,
yeah.
okay.
It's either 32 or 34. It's not a full 36-inch panel.
So you're making it about 26 to 28.
Yeah, 26 to 28. And what we found is that the conditioning time was cut in half on it.
Yeah.
And we didn't cut every panel. We'd cut 2 panels out of,
Yeah.
and we're using 16-foot panels. I think we were using 6 panels. And we would take one opposite side of the other and just cut a shorter rail out of it. And what you'd see are the young fawns could now clear it. And
Right.
get in. I have yet to see a hog jump into one of those. I'm not saying that they won't. In fact, I guarantee you in Texas they will.
Yeah, you're right. Don't put it back.
It may be parts of South Louisiana, but in Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi, places I've hunted, I have never seen a hog jump into one of those.
No.
Even though they can.
they will jump out of them though.
No doubt they jump out. Yeah.
And they'll tear everything up coming out of it.
We've pulled down to them before with the 5-foot panels in the trap, and the big boars will get to running from me, and they'll hit the panel, but they have such momentum it rolls them over it. You know, they collapse it if you don't have enough T-posts around there. So we've had to bust through the well before on the, you know, it never when we weren't there fixing to get them, but when they saw us, it's like they
Oh, yeah.
boring out of there, and I've had to bust through the panels where we had it tied to the T-post or something. Just unbelievable. I mean, strong as a grizzly bear.
This is the thing that I've learned in this about feral hogs, just being in this business. We were talking about hog numbers a while ago, which Florida's actually absolutely hands down has the highest numbers. Florida is a close second, you know, per square mile. It's a smaller state, but they got a lot of hogs
Texas.
over there. number 2 in the U.S. with hog problems.
So one is Texas.
Texas is number one.
Number one,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure where Louisiana falls in there. We're probably around 4 or 5.
Too dang many.
But what I've found is that with Louisiana hogs, and it's just certain areas of the state, we're talking about below Lake Charles down to the Gulf, Cajun country, are the absolutely craziest hogs I have ever dealt with, hands down in any state. These hogs, you're talking about sounder sizes, maybe 6 hogs would be a pretty big sounder down there.
Wow.
Yeah. Usually you don't, 4 or 5.
Right.
So these hogs down there are just, once you trap them, they never quit attacking the enclosure. It doesn't matter what you trap them in, they're going to attack that enclosure until you dispatch the hog in. I've had hogs break their necks. I've had hogs break the gates, break welds, break wire. It's unbelievable the damage that they do.
I wonder what that is. What's different about that?
I've told my buddies down there is these coon asses that just hunt them day and night. They made them crazy. They just made them batshit crazy.
No joke. The hogs on my farm in Louisiana over the past 15 years of being hunted are now the smartest creatures in the world.
Oh, for sure.
Like we used to, when we first got them, we could go in. I walked the first time I went and killed one. I walked up, there was a sounder at the feeder. The sow saw me. She ran at me to tell me to get out of here. I run, climbed to my bow stand, shot her, shot another one. Fast forward 10 years, and if we kill one with a rifle, we're doing good. And there's a bunch of them there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to trap them, or else we can't kill them.
I saw the same thing when we first started seeing them. You'd be sitting at the stand and they'd come to the feeder, or maybe you'd get to the stand, they'd already be at the feeder, and you'd climb up, get your gun, and shoot. And let's say there's 10 of them there, you'd shoot, and a few minutes later, the rest of them come back, shoot again. They may come back again. I've killed as many as 3, with them coming back to the feeder. Now, like you said, if you do get lucky to kill a pig at the feeder, with a rifle, you ain't gonna see another hog there for 2 or 3 weeks.
Exactly.
It's their adaptability. It's unlike any other animal that we hunt. Every time that you have an interaction with a wild hog, they learn from it.
Sure.
So what these hogs have done, and what I tell my customers, and what we've done in all of our traps, we took the feeders out. I don't even put a feeder in my traps anymore because the hogs are associating that with death. They've seen other hogs get shot under it, so they won't go in it. And some of them will go in at certain times, day or night, but they're just, by and large, they're just not. There's hogs that are just not going to go near that feeder anymore. And this is the other thing: is their available food sources. They can eat just about anything. They can live off of almost nothing.
Yeah.
But the one thing that they can't do without is water. So if you can contain the water on your property, half the battle is won. With a hog trap, and you put your hog traps up next to the water source.
Right. That's a good point right
Which
there.
is a hard thing to do in Louisiana because we got water everywhere.
You're right.
We either got water everywhere or we're in a drought. I don't think there's any in between.
I've almost decided and there's no study on this that I know of, that is what's driving the sounder sizes in Texas is the lack of water. So it concentrates these hog herds around the water sources. I don't know that that's a fact, but
That makes sense.
It makes sense.
For sure. That definitely makes
And in
sense.
South Louisiana, where you got water everywhere, the
It's
sounder
not that.
sizes are smaller.
5 to 6 hogs.
I wish somebody would do a study on that.
That's a good point right there. That is.
What are you waiting on?
I'm too busy right now to study anything. Study the back of my eyes every evening.
Well,
about 8:30.
Yeah.
And we've talked a little bit about how the gate works and, how the different ways to use it and all that. Back to Cole's question, he kind of wants to know, how it works. So you sell a gate and sell a control unit. We also sell just a unit, that if you want to build your own gate, you can, but sell a complete gate, sell a complete corral and all that. And you get a pre-plated plan from AT&T. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this.
Actually, I'm working on another company. I would like to eliminate that part of the equation with the cell service, but we're working on another solution to that right now, where you you don't necessarily have to go into the cellular store anymore.
Right. So as it is now, you get your SIM card, prepaid SIM card, and put it in the gate, and then there's instructions on how to program it, which I didn't have the patience to do. Corey had to program mine. And the cool thing is, you buy a Hogg Boss gate, and of course there's a 1-800 number in there, just like a lot of products. Well, you know, most products, you dial a 1-800 number, and you got a menu of press 1 for this or 2 for this. And you dial the 1-800 number at Hogg Boss, and Corey answers.
You know, and sometimes Scott answers.
It's Corey or Scott, one answer.
Yeah.
And so if you buy the gate and you're having any trouble setting it up,
That's awesome right there.
It's very simple.
We can actually program it for you remotely. Once you get your SIM card in it, set up, power and signal, just give me your numbers and we can set it up for you.
That's what he asked me. He's like, "You got it set up?" I'm like, "I don't know." Did you read the instructions? No.
Not really.
Do you have the instructions? No. It's like, give me your SIM card, Dad, and I'll set it. I can program it.
I
over
told
on the
Scott
phone.
we're going to start printing our instructions on toilet paper. That way they'll at least have something.
You right.
Nobody reads them.
Oh man.
So basically, when you buy the gate, you get it set up. I'll go back to the trap condition. I'll tell you how we kind of, for people that have never trapped hogs before, they buy the gate, say they buy the whole corral, gate and everything, they want to know, hey, what do I do? So basically, if you're going to an area where you have unlimited time, you're not in a time crunch like we are sometimes, you can, it really helps if you'll have a designated bait site set up before you get the gate. You got an area that you know hogs are coming into. The old trapper's term is always trap on sign. Don't try to trap in an area where you don't have any hog sign and make them come to you. Sometimes they can take months to get a hog.
Mm-hmm.
You know how great their noses are, but they've got certain areas they just don't want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can find hog sign where they're actively feeding or bedding or you know, got a hog wall or whatever, that's where you want to be. You know, put your trap in there, put your bait site in there, set your cameras up, figure out how many hogs you're dealing with in your sounder. And like I said earlier, we're targeting that 90% number. So you got 10 hogs in there. If we get 9 of them, we'll be happy with that. Now, if you got the patience of Job, if you're like Hannah Barron, you'll wait on that 10th hog to go in there for 3 months. I mean, it is a personal challenge to her to get every last.
She's a
100%er. Absolutely.
She's not like your brother.
No, my brother is
Nothing alike, huh?
ready to fire the gate right now.
That's
That's what I told him. I said, I said, that first hog goes in, you're going to drop the gate on his dang tail. It's all the way in there.
That's about 75% of my customers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, most people, they buy the gate, and it's just amazing to me that you buy a product, if you had that little faith in it, they just don't think it's going to work. You know, so they get a hog in it, and they're like, well, God, I got to fire it just
Gotta
to
see
if it's
what
gonna
it
work.
does. I gotta see if I-
You've already spent the money, and we put the time and energy into it. I promise you it's going to work. And if it don't, I want a phone call immediately. But, yeah, most people buy it, and they get the first hog in there, and they go, oh, I got to fire it.
Yeah. And then what happened is the rest of the sounder watch you
Yeah.
catch that one hog,
They
and they
just-
ain't going in
Then you
there.
wonder
just
why they ain't
increased their
coming back.
turnaround by about 2 months.
That's it. And I
Gosh.
tell you another thing, my brother gets so excited. But I mean, when the first time we dropped the gate on some hogs, and I think it was, I don't know, 13, 14. It was pretty good haul there, but there were 4 outside the gate looking when he dropped it. And I mean, you would have thought he killed a 200-inch deer. He was fired up, just excited, just fun, you know. And it really is.
You just caught a hog from the comfort of your lazy boy recliner
Heck
or
yeah.
your bed.
Yeah. Then he got the cold beer in this hand, got the phone in this hand, firing the gate.
I mean, it really is exciting. I've had a lot of people call me and say, you know, when I first bought this product, I kind of thought it was going to be boring. And one of them, Peyton McKinney, he said, man, I like this as much as I like turkey hunting.
Yeah.
He gets jacked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, trying to get that whole sounder, I mean, it's like playing a video game.
Gosh, if we could get Kyle to like to do that more than he likes to turkey hunt,
Mm.
have some.
We may have him.
Yeah.
right
He
there.
stayed, look, from about mid-February until June, Kyle is MIA. unless you're at a turkey camp somewhere.
Well, that's the beauty of the
That
hog
is
boss
true.
gate is you can trap hogs while you're turkey hunting.
You right
Yeah.
there.
I mean, these things are out. They're designed to run 24/7. It's got a solar panel on the battery. Outside of baiting the enclosure up, you don't have to go back into the trap.
That's right.
That's good.
That's right.
That's good.
And we, you know, after you get the gate and you get your cell service set up. Only other thing you need is a 12-volt battery and you know, some kind of cellular game camera. Whether we use covert, whether it be covert, spy point, whatever cellular camera you want to use, where you can watch your gate, and that's it. And like Corey said, it comes with a solar panel. I mean, I've had a hot battery out for 3 or 4 months now, and it's still got plenty of juice to fire the gate whenever we need to.
And the longest running gate that we've had, that maintenance free, it's been out for almost 3 years now.
That's
Haven't
awesome.
done anything to it except for bait it up.
That's awesome.
One of the things that we didn't really touch on is bait, and I get this question a
Yeah.
lot, especially first-time hog trappers. What do you use for bait? What do you use for bait?
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I thought about it earlier and forgot, but that's a good one.
being, you know, we're in a very fortunate situation where we got a buddy that works out at the pellet mill just north of town here, and one of the things that they use to clean the pellet mill out is corn. I don't know what he does, but
Really?
they run sacks of corn through it, and it's corn
It's
mixed
kinda
in
like-
with wood pellets.
That's kind of like media, I guess, like, you know, cleaning brass for
I
reloading
don't-
or whatever.
It's something they do in the cleaning process, and he brings us 55-gallon drums of this pelletized corn.
Corn.
Yeah. So almost 90% of what we use is corn. All the attractants work. There's not one out there that I think doesn't work. Any kind of sweetener.
Any sweet smelling.
I've got a couple of guys that are using pheromones now, which I think are extremely effective, especially if you're having trouble with the old bull that's getting hung up.
Explain the pheromones.
The pheromones are just like the doe and heat scent, same thing, only it's hog and heat.
Right.
And there's there's actually probably half a dozen companies out there that are making them right now, and they're really effective.
Mhm. By itself or with feed in there, or just a little bit of all of it, or?
Well, it's funny, I was talking to one of the USDA agents that uses our products in Florida, Kaylee Thomas. Shout out to Kaylee. She was telling me about one of her agents uses the pheromone with a decoy, a hog decoy. What he's using is a bow target.
Bow target,
Yeah. So he's taking an old rag or whatever, saturating it with that scent.
That's
and
pretty
running
good.
that hog decoy. He used it without it, and what he's found is that there's a visual component to it, just like there are with
They
deer.
look good too.
The hog. Oh yeah, they
Those
just. Well, I mean, it's just a big black blob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said that he even had to go back and black out the tusks on it because that made a difference in that trap. Those boars would see that other boar in there.
Right.
And the younger boars would see that other
Yeah.
boar and not go in there.
Wouldn't go in there. Well,
I can't emphasize enough
I mean-
how smart these animals are.
when you talk about people getting creative, that's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
creative
It is,
right
yeah.
there.
Have you tried, growing up, it was sour your corn and diesel or diesel to keep the deer from eating it, or sour it in water for a certain period of time to get it that sour smell, or we've added Kool-Aid powder to them.
All of that works. All of it works. But I tell you, the hog is slave to their stomach. And there are certain times of the year in trapping that are just 1,000 times more
Right.
productive than
That's
others.
true.
And you're talking about from the end of deer season, when everybody pulls their feet out of the woods, until the first grain of seed goes in the ground, first plant.
Yep.
We call it the spring green.
Yeah.
That window of opportunity is like hog trapping
You
heaven.
got about what, 2 or 3, maybe 4 months, 2 or 3 months
You got
right there.
a solid 3 months
Yeah.
in there to where you can hammer them. There's nothing left for them to eat in the woods. The farmers have not planted their fields yet, and buddy, they are
Right.
they're
That
primed
makes
and
good
ready to
sense.
go.
That makes sense right there.
Yeah.
That does.
You know, and talking about using location, we caught a bunch this year. As soon as we turned up some dirt and started planting soybeans, we knew, they're coming.
They're like
So we
deer.
just went ahead right on the edge of that field, had a trap, had a pen built. As soon as we turned the dirt and ran the planter through it, we baited it up, and I think we caught 8 pigs in it that night.
Cropland pigs are so conditioned to the planting season as soon as you turn that dirt over, I think they almost know how many days before the seed
A
goes.
diesel engine running is kind of like a dinner bell to
Yeah.
them, I think. Because, I mean, you get that seed in the ground, here they come.
You were talking about diesel a while ago to sweeten up the corn or keep the coons and deer off of it. This is another thing that I don't know that there's ever been any studies on, but a lot of old hog hunters, hog trappers have told me the hogs are actually attracted to the petroleum itself.
Really?
The grease, oil.
Yeah.
If you see an old tractor that's leaking diesel or whatever on the ground, they'll waller in it and they think that it's an insecticide.
Right.
That's why they
I've always
get
heard
it on
that.
their skin is for insect control.
Bugs off of it.
I had
Has
never
there
thought
been
that.
any, you always look at these studies, have there been any studies or anything
I'm
on
a
that?
geek out when it comes
I
to
know,
hogs.
I know. But have there been studies like on that, you know?
Not that I know of. I've got, there are actual books on feral hogs. I've got every one of them. I read them cover to cover. But as far as I know, there hadn't been any studies on the petroleum-based.
I tell you, you're talking about bait, I can tell you what don't work. I've always heard, just like you hear about the oil and stuff, anything that stinks, like, fish heads or anything like that. And so we had a crawfish boil.
I did the same thing.
We had
Same thing.
I told
know-
everybody.
I know
where you're
everybody,
going.
look,
I know exactly where
I
this
got
is
this
going.
I got this big feed tub from the ranch and put it on the patio. I'm like, put all your
ready.
crawfish heads in there, and I'll take care of them in the morning. So I go the next morning, I take this big feed tub full of crawfish heads and dump them in the hog traps. And for the next 3 weeks, every raccoon in Morehouse
Yes.
Parish were in my hog traps.
I agree 100% on
And
that.
Zero hog. I mean, until the raccoons ate most of the crawfish heads and stuff like that, and we finally, rain washed them away, and we finally scooped some out and had the corn over them, and it was, from the time they were all gone, it was another 2 weeks before hogs came back in there. So, that may have worked for somebody, but it did not work for me.
I believe
I'll
it.
tell you, when I was an apprentice hog trapper, when I first getting started and trying to figure this, whole thing out, the old timer told me, the best thing to use is catfish guts, catfish
Sure.
heads. Well, we murder the catfish down there in St. Francisville when the floods, floodwaters. So we had all these catfish guts and heads that we were just hauling off and dumping in the ditch. I'm gonna bait this trap up with some catfish heads. For the next 7 days, I had to turn the camera off. Turkey vultures is in there on that thing.
Oh,
Nothing else would come in, and I don't think the vultures would let a hog come in there. They may be more aggressive than the hogs are, but the vultures in there day and night. I must have had 10,000 pictures of them.
Yeah, we'll stick to the hog wild and the corn and that sort of thing
Yeah.
from now on.
The other thing that people first starting out, they go in and grab a sack of corn, salt their trap down, 50-pound sack of corn. When you're doing trap conditioning, what I try to instill, it doesn't matter what bait you're using, just don't let them run out of it.
Sure.
And if you got a 20, 30 pig sounder, you got to feed them. In order to condition them as a trap, you got to put out a buffet for them. What you're trying to do with your feed is get them to recognize that as a primary food source.
Right.
So once they recognize it a primary food source, they're going to start bedding up closer to that trap. And you're going to notice over time, and I'm not going to place a number on there because every sounder is different, but over a period of time, you're going to notice that those hogs are coming in more regularly, almost to the point to where you can set your alarm clock at 2:05 because you know they've been in there at 2:10 the previous 3 nights. And a lot of sounders will start hitting it, I call them 2-a-days. They'll hit it twice a day once they've established a primary food source. But the key is to put out enough bait to keep them fed and let them get full on it. And we're talking at minimum of 200 to 300 pounds of corn.
Right.
Most people
More the better, yeah.
Yeah, 50 pounds, and they just can't figure out why they can't get them conditioned.
What a group of hogs can do to one bag of corn, hey,
It don't take long.
it's
they
nothing.
graze through that.
it's nothing. But
And if they run out, they know that food source is no longer there. So what are they going to do? They're a slave to their stomach. They're going to start searching for another, and they're nomadic. They'll travel.
they are.
Average, travel distance for a sounder hogs is 5 to 10 miles. So
Yeah.
they're very nomadic.
That's right.
Come by Simmons Sporting Goods and check out the new A5 semi-auto shotguns from Browning, the best there is. Now back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast.
Welcome back to the Simmons Podcast. We got another question for Corey, and Caleb may can help as well, but fill us in a little bit on the conversion unit.
I'll tell you, the conversion unit came about. We started doing this. I was trying to manufacture hog traps with electronics built into them. Then we kind of got into doing complete systems with the corrals. But, you know, we live in an area where people kind of like to do things themselves. I mean, you know, I don't know many people around here that can't weld or have somebody that they know that can weld. So a lot of people want to build their own hog traps, or they already have their own hog trap that they're happy with. They caught a bunch of hogs with it, but they just want to kind of bring it to the next level, and I call it high-tech redneck trapping.
Not have to check it every day.
And not have to check it every day. And a lot of people still aren't using, even on their trip sets, they're not using cellular trail cameras, which, you know, that's a whole nother story. But what we came up with is basically our electronic package. We call it the conversion unit, where you can buy our electronics. Comes with a whip of cable. You hook it to your latch, or you can buy the latch that we use at Hog Boss and set it up. The cost of that is $5.99, so it's a good deal, less than half the cost of the Hog Boss trap. For $5.99, you can rig up what you got in high-tech redneck trapping.
Like Corey said, you know, a lot of our customers are farmers or agriculture related, and they got piles of scrap iron around the farm, and they either weld or they got a welder on the payroll, or and like you said, just about anybody around here can weld. And didn't Jeff Barron do one out of wood?
He did. Jeff runs a sawmill out of his house, and he always has these cut ends, little round slats that you always see cut off.
Sure.
He has, I mean, he's got a mountain of them. And people are always asking, what do you do with that scrap? What do you do with that scrap? They don't throw anything away. The two people that, he and Hannah and his wife as well, they truly live off the land. I mean, these people, they don't throw away nothing. Everything that they do is put to use. And so he was just kind of doing a little video. He's got a new YouTube channel. Y'all should check it out. He was going to make a hog trap out of these slats, which he did, and what he used was our conversion unit on it. I don't know what. Jeff is probably one of the most innovative people I've ever met, taking a high-tech problem and finding a low-tech solution for it. His trigger, he takes a piece of wood, like a 2x2, and he saws it almost completely through, and then drills a hole in it, puts a bolt and attaches my cable to it, and when my solenoid pulls on that cable, it breaks the stick, and that's his trigger. The first time he showed it to me, I'm like, Jeff, that is like the first time somebody saw the wheel. I have never, I've never seen anything like it, and it is 100% effective. And it costs him nothing.
That's pretty neat right there.
And so, and I mean, that unit, guys, we got that unit on our website. Like Corey said, $5.99, ship it free anywhere in the country. It's got instructions in there, and of course, if you want to talk to Corey, just dial the 1-800 number in the box there.
That may be the greatest feature of all of it, where you can actually talk to the man who builds it. So
You can for now, but if things are going like they are right now, that ain't gonna
continue.
much longer.
So you better hurry up and
But
buy
you
it.
will be able to talk to somebody, a highly trained professional.
If somebody, what would, you talked about different people, different things they did, but if I was to buy the conversion unit, what would you recommend? How would I build my trap?
That is the one thing that I cannot. If you look up Google hog trap designs, it's like there's thousands of different ways to build a trap. We talked earlier about building a figure 9 trap, where you just take the panel wire and loop it back around to where it makes a 9. Some people call them 6s, but it almost makes a 9, and you leave a gap in it. You can put a chock of wood in that little gap and attach my control unit to where it'll pull that chock out, and basically the wire just springs back on itself.
Right.
I mean, that's how simple of a trap that you can build using our conversion unit. But I've got people that use them on box traps, the 4x6 traps. And the problem that they have with the 4x6 traps, and one of the things that we didn't touch on earlier, I want to go back to this because I think it's really, really important. We talk about how smart these sows are, and it kind of gets you in the line of thinking, well, they're so smart, we just can't do anything about it. Well, the average lifespan of a hog is about 6 years. Not very long. Kind of like a deer, kind of like a white-tailed deer. But the analogy that I use for these trap-shy sows is like these old does that have already seen hunters in the woods, bow hunters. How many times you've been sitting on a food source or whatever, and you have that one old doe that'll circle 360 degrees to catch your wind to see if you're in the stand, because you are, or just come up and look at you.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never had that before.
Shoot. No.
Maybe not with those.
Just got my blood pressure up thinking about that. Oh.
Well, these sows are the same way. So what do you want to do? What's the? That's like killing a trophy buck. If you get one of these,
And they can screw the pooch for the whole group at times.
Absolutely.
And we've had that happen in hogs and deer, and it's like they blow the field, and the hog's just like, well, now they're not coming in.
So which deer do you want to shoot?
Yeah.
That's the one you want to shoot. And these sows are the same way. That's the one you want to catch. But what happens is, and y'all funded these highly managed clubs where people are taking their proper deer numbers or doe numbers, and you don't see a lot of these really old does on highly managed clubs like you do on, some of the clubs that aren't managed as well.
Right.
If you get to where you manage your hog herd the same way, you don't get that age structure with your hogs, so they never develop that education that these old does do. It's the same thing. So, I can't even remember where I was headed with that, but I think it's really important to remove these old sows. And when you're removing entire sounders and your age structure gets to where it should be, the trapping gets easier. It gets easier and easier and easier.
Heck
because you're
yeah.
just trapping young hogs.
That's
We were
it.
talking about the 4x6 traps, and that's, I guess you're educating those older sows with those smaller ones more than you're.
You can, you certainly can be. And one of the advantages to going to a high-tech trap is a wireless trapping system and using a cell camera is you know exactly what you're firing the trap gate on. So if you got a solo boar, or if you got, a young bachelor group where you got 3 or 4 boars in it and they go in a 4x6 and you fire it, you really haven't hurt anything. But if you fire that 4x6 and you got a 30 hog sound,
Yeah.
and you catch 4 or 5 of them, you really hurt yourself.
Educated, and that's one instance. We had a boar that he'd come to the trap, and he'd watch the other pigs in there, and he'd sit outside, never would go in. And we caught some pigs one night. He never saw him around. We had gone 3 or 4 weeks without having any hogs or any hog sign around this pen. And finally one night, I don't know what made him go in there. We had it baited up with corn just like usual. This big boar hog went in there, just him was by himself. And of course that was one where you got one in there and you dropped the gate and they're proud to get that dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And you didn't hurt yourself either.
No.
You took him out and you set your trap and you're fishing again.
That's it.
Come by Simmons Sporting Goods and check out the new models of the X-Bolt rifle from Browning. The best there is. Now back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast with Corey Gilbert, Hog Boss Gates. Corey, we're all, and we talked about this on our last podcast, we're all hunters and killers, and we enjoy kill pics. And you probably enjoy seeing pictures from your customers and when they take out big sounders. And
I do. That's one of the things that, I love to interact with my customers and hear back from them. I get pictures every day. Obviously, for when you're in business, there are certain images that you can't put up on a website. And if you put them up on Facebook or Instagram now, they'll lock you out. So we get a lot of kill videos and stuff like that people send me that I just can't put up. And not that I would if I could. One of the things that people ask me about, you like killing those hogs, and to be honest with you, that has always been my least favorite part of the whole deal. There's just something about the dispatching of an animal in a trap. I try to do it as quickly and humanely as possible. And that So the kill pictures, you're never gonna see that on our site. Now dead hogs stacked up in front of the gate.
And I guess that's what I
All
mean,
day
you know,
long.
big pile
Yeah,
of pigs that were just caught, and so,
nothing gets me more excited than to see them stacked up like cordwood in front of our product.
so if, you know, if we got customers that, and, you know, with the conversion unit, let's say somebody gets creative with a gate and they wanna share the picture, they tag Hog Boss on Instagram, or you got an email we can share with them, or?
They can tag us on Instagram, it's hog.boss.gates, or you can tag us on Facebook, Hog Boss Gates, at Hog Boss Gates.
And same, you know, same goes for us at Simmons Sporting Goods on Instagram and Facebook and all things hunting too. We're all work together with this, and we all enjoy seeing that stuff.
Well, this is kind of the dead zone for hunting season. Most people have transitioned to fishing. Just in the last 2 weeks, people started getting back out in the woods again and putting out a little rice brand to see what the deer herd looks like. And the thing that they're finding out is that their hog numbers are still there from last year. So we've been getting a lot of calls in the last
Yep.
2 weeks.
This is probably, you know, you mentioned that window after deer season at prime time, but this is prime time too. They're, you know, feeders are going, you got hogs on the move, and
We talked a little bit earlier about prime season being the end of deer season to the spring green. There's another really attractive time period in there, which is late July to probably middle of August, before the crops get ready or start coming out of the field. What we're in right now is kind of a mini drought, so a lot of their food sources are starting to dry up. So the farmers are starting to see them concentrating around the crops that are getting ready. But in areas that don't have cropland, you've got you've got an isolated target there that'll go to a corn pile pretty good right now.
Mm-hmm.
We kill them pretty good right now this time of year.
Corn and water, that's good.
Corn and water.
And they do,
Yeah.
like you said earlier, I paid attention to it, because usually we get one on the camera at a feeder, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to kill him with a gun. And pay attention that they sometimes, when you get them established, they wear a stopwatch. And like, if he's there at 8 o'clock at night, he's gonna be there pretty much.
Also,
He's
you
gonna
see-
show up 20 minutes early and kill him.
What he said that I know is true. Also, is I go back to Texas a lot because we've spent a lot of our time in Texas hunting, but they start bedding close to they start bedding close to where they're feeding. When them feeders go off, sometimes they're there.
Yeah.
I've had them there before it stops.
Yeah.
Because we'll spin that thing like crazy if we're just hog hunting. Because a lot of times when you first start your feeders, especially in Texas, Louisiana too, but man, when you first give those deer that first bite of corn, again, once you get them going, put in your truck, man, it's like the hogs that come out of the woodworks, and you got to go on hog patrol.
Exclusion fencing.
Exactly, you got to go on hog patrol early before you can get quality deer pictures, what we've seen, and before you can get going again and get really in that deer mindset.
you got to kill those pigs.
You got to do something to those pigs.
That's right. The exclusion fencing, if you're gonna feed deer, you just about gotta have it nowadays. The people that aren't using it are gonna be the people that see the larger, because the clubs around you that are using it, rest assured, those hogs are coming to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And those deer are going the other way.
That's right. And which leads me to another thing that we didn't touch on, is what we've tried to do with in hunting is a pretty good part of what we do. Obviously, USDA and the farming industry and ranching industry is a majority of our customers. But you know, deer hunting season, the hunters they're knocking our door down, but these clubs are always trying to figure out a way to save money. And what I've tried to get them to do is form co-ops and set up guidelines for what the surrounding clubs will do. This is what we do, and this is what we don't do. The exclusion fencing is a big part of that. But buying a hog boss gate, each club running a hog boss gate, or multiple clubs building corrals and using just a couple of gates and move them into the hot areas where the hogs are
That's
feeding out.
working really well for us.
It's a really cost-effective way for these clubs to do it, but the point being is that every club needs a hog control plan. And if they don't have one, that's gonna be the club that gets blown up with hogs, because
Exactly.
everybody else is moving to that right now.
Sure. Yeah, and you know, they, like you said, they move, they travel. When you get after them, they move. Well, I'm getting after them and move them, and the neighbors aren't doing anything. Well, they're just sitting over there concentrating over there, and then pretty soon they're gonna move back.
Absolutely. You just have to get everybody on board, and it's a slow process. The education part of it is a big side of it. Of course, COVID kind of shut us down. We had a huge education thing that we were gonna do this year. I mean, we're really excited about it. We partnered with a retired USDA guy that was setting up all these venues for me to go and give our PowerPoint presentation to.
Seminars, basically.
Yeah, and just educate people on what the actual problem is.
Yeah.
And most people leave there, you know, pretty shocked.
Right.
Everybody thinks that they understand the feral hogs, and they just really don't know the depth of the issue.
Well, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. If you got questions about the Hogg Boss, any of the Hogg Boss products, you can reach Corey on Facebook, Instagram, website was hogbossgates.com. Is that right?
Hogbossgates.com, or you can email me, Corey at hogbossgates.com.
You can also contact me right here at Simmons Sporting Goods. We keep all the products in stock all the time. And if I run out of something, I call Corey, whether it's middle of the night or whatever. He comes running, bring us more product.
And the big thing is we can ship them right to you. So if you live in, you know, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Florida,
Yep.
it doesn't matter where you live at, we can get these things to you for as little as $150. It's surprising how cheap the drop rate shipping is on these things. Yeah, we've shipped them where
Oklahoma,
Belize.
Gainesville, Florida.
Had a guy from
We did Belize.
had a guy from Hawaii called me last week, wanted a hog trap over in Honolulu.
So we can literally ship them anywhere. And guys, we appreciate y'all listening and tune in next week.
See y'all.